name is Christian Adleta. I'm graduating in the year of 2020, and my project title is documentary, and I've called it untitled documentary because it's still kind of a work in progress. My project mentor is Mr. Schuler, who has helped me out with some advice between filming, different angles, audio, all that sort of stuff, offering up different resources if I needed them. Write a short paragraph answering each of the following questions. What knowledge, skills, or abilities have you gained as a result of this project? Let's dig down with that one a little bit. The documentary has been a huge project, and that has, in and of itself, just the idea of how big and large the project is, has helped me kind of figure out how to break down projects of this size. Like, I've dealt with making videos before, I've dealt with working on writing papers, even providing things for work, for client work and whatnot, but I haven't had a project as big as over multiple months periods of time frame. Most of my projects would be under a month, under a few weeks, and those I would consider pretty large projects. And so this being such a large, over the course of multiple months, has taught me the ability to kind of, not only to see it not as a sprint, because when I was first going through the documentary, I was like, okay, you know what, I've got to get it done, I've got these different ideas, these sorts of things, but over time I realized that I can't just keep trying to do as much as I can in as little time. I've got to space it out over multiple months, and it ended up the filming process was 4 to 5 months, if I remember correctly, and then editing is still going to be another couple months. But these sorts of things have led to giving me different skills in larger project time management, and these have really helped me overall, just from even starting to tackle the project. And then if we're to go even deeper dive into specifics about the project, angles, camera angles, lighting, audio editing, the different angles, and the way that the lighting affects, remembering to check if you press the record, syncing up audio, dealing with big projects, storyboarding, select reels, all of these different little skills that had to be worked on independently. Research, lots and lots of research. How to teach people. I think that was one of the biggest things. I spent, 3 times 3 times 3, closer to 37 hours or so just teaching people the different skills that go along with it. So the overall project was me sitting down. So the project is multiple parts. The project is called a documentary. That is what I decided to call it. I wanted to make a professional looking film project. And it kind of developed to be me sitting down and teaching 3 of my peers, 3 of my friends, 3 different things. I taught them goal setting, and that started down. I sat down, I taught them everything I knew about goal setting. That was the first thing we did, oh my goodness, back in September, October time frame. That was multiple months ago, and we sat down. Scheduling with different people is another thing that we did. We sat down, we learned about the different process of goal setting. I taught them as much as I could about short-term goals versus long-term goals, SMART goals, what works, what doesn't. We actually sat down and wrote goals for them. That was a huge thing. Just the process of teaching, figuring out what to say, when to say it, and how to make sure that they actually understand and grasp it and use that information, because that was the big part, was them actually using the information to see them actually use it. So next thing was time management was the next one. Sat down, that was October or November, I think it was November. We sat down, did time management, we did calendars, schedules, Trello boards, the whole shebang between project management, all that sort of stuff. Started to get to really hear about how their lives are from a day-to-day basis, when they go to the gym, when they work on projects, what their school schedule is like, and then kind of teach them in their own situations how to deal with all the extra things that might pop up between clubs, going out with friends, socializing, just connecting on days to record was also another big thing. Then you've got budgeting. Budgeting was really interesting, between finances, helping them see that. That one was a much shorter one because everyone had a general idea of it, and so it was a lot easier for me to break it down once they had a grasp of it. And then during the same time, we did the last interview, which really asking the right questions, knowing what to say, how to word it so that they say what you want them to say, how to space it audio-wise. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes with this project when it came to audio and visual aspects, and whole shebang. And I just gained all of these things, just a little bit more, and I'd love to keep working. I think I might make a second version of this initial documentary just for my personal, just because I know that there's so much more that I could do with it. If I had more time, if I had another year or two just to sit down and work on it, I'd love to sit down and do that. The second question here, how might you apply what you've learned in the future? Well, one for sure is the amount of scheduling between projects. A lot of one of the things I didn't realize with this big project was going to be, when I initially started thinking, I was like, okay, you know what, this was my timeline of basically thinking about that documentary in terms of how much work it was going to be. I was like, okay, you know what, I'm sure you can make something in 40 hours worth of work, make a decent time-wise documentary. And then it became, I started doing more math. I was like, oh, well, if I wanted to make this really nice documentary, it takes about an hour and a half to, no, it takes about 4 hours, 5 hours, if I remember correctly, for each minute of polished footage, scripting, editing, music, the whole thing for just 1 minute. It takes about 4 to 5 hours for just 1 minute of good quality footage. So it's like, okay, well, that means that either A, I've got 40 hours so I can make about a 6 to 7 minute documentary, or B, I could spend 250 hours and make the best thing that I could possibly make with that amount of time. Of course, I haven't been able to spend that much time on the project due to running a podcast, part-time job, consulting work, freelance work, school, and the rest of it, and just living. So, those things that I learned about larger term projects are definitely gonna help me with the future, figuring out how to space things and being able to schedule with other people between meetings and figuring out what time works best for them. That was a big thing. Figuring out how to teach and talk to someone so that they understand and really get to grasp what I'm trying to say was a really big thing. I'm definitely going to use those in going into work and other such areas. Now, I think that really answers that question. So what do you consider to be the strengths of the project? The strengths of the project. I think that there was a lot of aspects where I went through, so the project was 5 terms of interviews. So the first interview was kind of a getting to know you, getting to hear about, what graduating class are you. It was just kind of like first time getting them used to being on camera and that sort of thing. We actually didn't end up using any of that footage, which was like a good 5 hours. We actually, back then we had 4 people on the project. One of them left during that time period, which was unfortunate, but now I saw that it was great because I would not have been able to handle 4 people's schedules and that much footage and all the rest of it. So the strengths of the project, getting back to the question, the strengths of the project were really kind of the ambition of the project, how big and what it actually meant. This wasn't just a documentary about, sitting down with these people, although sitting down and talking with them. It was what was being had. It was skills. We were teaching the skills that aren't being taught in school. Goal setting, time management, budgeting, the real life skills that have real life effects going into future. That means how to manage your money, how to avoid debt, how to avoid living paycheck to paycheck, how to not stop feeling overwhelmed with schedules, with schoolwork, tests, clubs, socializing, all the rest of it, how to set goals, how to have a direction. These were the big things, the ambition of the project. That was the strength of the project, was not only because it was dealing with each of these individual lives and these people and getting to, help them in these areas. I mean, I have to tell you, when I was working on the documentary, when I was going through and editing it, rewatching the interviews actually made me just tear up just a little bit because I was so proud of listening to hear what they had to say about how much it changed their lives. Getting to hear just my one friend, Justin, who was basically, I don't know what it was, but whatever he said, it made me so proud. He was going through and talking about how goal setting was the hardest because it was the most personal, but it was the most important because it was the most fundamental. And it was something along those lines, and hearing the story of that really it made me so proud. And it was what I have to consider that personal aspect of the project, the strength of the project. Also, the idea that this project wasn't just for these people, it was eventually, further down the line, to get this out to other people. The idea of saying, here are the big issues that we see right now in our culture and our time with people dealing with these stresses about money, time, direction, and here's some tools and helps and things that I found in my life that have worked for these people, and how those things can really help and affect other people. How getting the word out there to help others, not just these 4 individuals, but also to help as many as see it. That's the strength of it.